Hey, y'all. Welcome to the Common Good Podcast. Doug Fadgett here. Rob Ryerson, together on a Tuesday morning. And, Rob, it was just, I think, last Tuesday we talked. Since then, we've had the State of the Union fiasco. Mm-hmm. And Donald Trump started a war.
Yeah.
It's mind-bending. It's mind-bending, this guy. It just...
Why? I mean, why wouldn't we just start a war?
Yeah.
Why not?
These guys used to, when presidents would do a military action, and they didn't want to call it a war because they didn't go to Congress, they didn't ask for war powers, they would call it Operation something or another. Yep. Always kind of drove me crazy. Drove all of us crazy because we got the shtick. These guys don't even care. They just call it a war. They just say, and then if you press them on, well, did you go to Congress to get authorization for the war? They're like, well, it's not a war. But our war in Iran is...
Yeah.
So devastating, killing, of course, because military actions everywhere in the world kill innocent people. That is what they do. We can try to say we're going to be as careful as we can, but people die. That's the point of military actions, to kill people.
Yep. As Rush Limbaugh used to say, the purpose of the U.S. military is to kill people and break things.
Stop clock theory, proven correct.
I think this is the second podcast in a row where I have quoted Rush Limbaugh But Doug, today is election day. All across the country, it's primary day. There's a round of elections happening in several states today. I'm sure we'll talk about some of that, but one of them includes, Arkansas, and I'm on the ballot today. So,
what a big day, Rob! Congratulations.
Yeah. Well, that leads to like the big fiasco of the morning. So, last week I stopped by the Walmart neighborhood market pharmacy.
Okay.
Which let me tell you, our neighborhood market pharmacy provides the best customer service that I experience anywhere. They're the best. They're absolutely the best.
Well, congratulations.
The pharmacy tech, I was picking up a prescription for Vanessa, required an ID. So I, popped my driver's license into the little drive-through window thing, and he looks at it and he says, "Hey, Rob, your driver's license is expired." I said, "What?"
Truly?
Yeah, your driver's license expired on your birthday.
Oh,
like, okay, thank you. And then he said, "Hey, love everything you're doing with the campaign, because my pharmacy tech, is a campaign supporter."
Great.
Yeah. So I had to, renew my driver's license, which is a real ID, which again, I don't know. I feel like the real ID is, I don't quite understand what the purpose is. Why we have to do this real ID thing.
There's an extra layer of proof of citizenship.
Okay.
That's what it is.
So I realized, like, hey, if I want to be able to vote, because here in Arkansas, you've got to show ID when you vote. I'm going to need to get this thing renewed. So I headed down to the revenue office, which is what we call the DMV, and spent my morning there waiting in line. Initially said it was going to take 7 hours. It only took about an hour and a half, thankfully, and got my real ID renewed.
So then now you have like a paper copy. You're carrying one. They nip the edge of it, the corner of it. Now you carry around a piece of paper to prove that you have a real ID.
They print it right on the spot.
They print it right on the spot?
Yeah.
Oh, way to go, little Arkansas.
I left with it. Yeah, it was actually warm when he handed it to me. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Well, that in and of itself, cheer that on. Because I don't know if you know how it happens to
What
some
do you
of the
do
rest
in
of us.
Minnesota?
They clip the end of the corner so that that, hey, this ID isn't any good anymore. It now has to be matched with paper documents that you carry until your new identification comes in the mail. This would be true for any renewal, not just a real ID. In fact, my daughter couldn't rent a car because she forgot to grab the paper, the thing saying it was renewed. So she had to hop around and figure things out. Yeah. This ID business, man. I helped somebody yesterday. I was flying home from Nashville, Tennessee, and I helped a person in line because she didn't have a real ID. She'd never flown on an airplane. She wasn't even planning to fly. Terrible things had happened. She had to get on an airplane. She didn't have a credit card, and they said, without a real ID, you're going to pay a $40 fine to TSA to get on the airplane. She's like, I have $40 cash. They don't take cash. You have to log into a website, pay online, and then get an email. Poor person. I mean, she barely made it back home.
Yeah.
It's
Doug, listen
really
to this.
it's really tragic for people.
As long as we're talking about IDs and the ability to do something, listen to this. A good friend of mine posted this on Facebook last night. Heads up, voting friends. My daughter went to early vote today at 4:45 p.m. Waited in line until 6:30 p.m. only to be told her passport, which expires in 2029, was not sufficient. She was not allowed to vote. Apparently, you can use your passport as ID for voting up until 3 years prior to expiration, but not 4. What the hell? I am raging. This is ridiculous.
Wow. What state is that? Arkansas?
Yeah, Arkansas.
I mean,
ridiculous.
Ridiculous. This is even before the federal government.
A valid, unexpired passport that, in fact, has 3 more years on its validation.
Yeah, but don't you? Okay, so in Minnesota, I'm already registered. I don't show anything. I just show up. They say my name. I go in. I vote.
No,
there's no ID. There's no ID.
You have to show ID.
But you can't just show a passport, because I could show up with a passport in Arkansas and say, I have a U.S. passport, so I want to vote in Arkansas. I mean, you have to have something with your name on it and your address.
Well, I'm pretty sure your passport has your name and address on it.
No, it doesn't have your address.
What?
Oh,
what did you say?
Do you have a passport there? Does it have your mailing address?
I don't know.
I don't know.
But I think at the very
least,
what it does is it matches the name that's in the voter registration with you, and it's got your picture.
Because people move, and when you move, you don't update your passport.
Right. Okay.
Anyway, but this is all the confusion that just makes people lose their minds.
But the point, Doug, is the passport is valid as a form of ID.
That's true.
As long as it's outside of 4 years before it needs to be renewed.
Point landed.
What in the world?
Yeah. Point landed.
Listen.
And you know what's going to happen? Truthfully, so many Trump supporters are going to show up to vote and be told that they can't.
Yeah.
Because it has nothing to do, like somebody renewing any of their identification or their passports or any of this stuff has nothing to do with political persuasion, interest level in politics, frequency of voting.
It is
whether you support a felon,
it is
pedophile.
Completely how anal retentive you are, is whether or not your stuff is renewed.
And how much you accidentally find out that your passport or your driver's license.
Yes, it's only the anal retentive people are not like accidentally finding out. I could have literally gone today and accidentally found out my driver's license, my real ID was expired. I had no idea.
Okay, we can't spend the whole time talking about this. We should do a special Thursday edition of this, talking just about this topic, because it's worth it. The fact that driver's license ever expire makes no sense. I mean, you might want to say you have to pay a fee every time, and then just ratchet up that fee or something. But to make the ID go from being so functionally necessary in our society for so many things, for banking purposes, for legal identification, for voting, for all this stuff, and then to have it just hit a date at which you're like, that's completely useless. It's as if you don't have one.
Yeah.
That is, this is a real real problem. And I know that they do it simply for revenue. You ask anybody in the state legislatures, and you should, when you're a congressperson, I hope you'll go to your state legislature and say, could we figure out a different revenue stream than renewing? Because the amount of money that it takes for the Office of Revenue or DMV to process renewals, like, what on earth? You should get a driver's license when you're 16 or 17, and it's just a functional ID forever. Maybe you say you can't drive with it. I don't know, but it should remain a functional piece of identification. Now, I've heard people say you have to update the photos because age changes or this kind of thing. There's a way to figure that out. But this is just all.
I mean, just AI can do it for us now.
Yeah.
And just just AI age me and send me a new card in the mail.
AI age me.
I think fundamentally,
Rob, even AI wouldn't have seen this coming 25 years ago. I just got to say, they would have made you not look like a young, dapper 50-year-old man. They would have turned you into some vision of a Rob Ryerson that the world will never see.
Yeah. I think fundamentally, Doug, like, I wish, listen, at a fundamental level, at the level of shared values, all of us want elections we can trust. We want to be able to have that sense of like, I'm going to go vote. My vote is going to count. Everybody's vote is going to count. It's going to be counted correctly. And we're going to know who the winner is.
Of course.
All of us want elections we can trust, that are free, that are fair. I think as we think about how we do that, the thing we need to do is recognize that it's important to make it easier, not more difficult to vote. So within the context of what we have to have elections we can trust, but how do we do that? Mm-hmm. How do we get there in a way that makes it easier to vote, not harder? Mm-hmm. There should be as few barriers as possible to being able to vote. And this ridiculousness of, my passport doesn't expire for 3 more years and it's not a valid ID for, like, come on, like, right. Come on.
Yeah. I mean, I've heard them say that when you try to fly, if your passport's going to expire within like 3 months, they're like, hey, we're not letting you, Delta, like, has a rule. We're not Delta Airlines. We're not letting you get on the plane because you could stay longer than that and then get trapped there. Like, there's little insider rules to benefit the traveler. But this business about making it harder to vote, I also just don't understand. I think it's so racially and economically driven that some people think that if we make it hard, if we make voter ID necessary, that's going to make Democrats have a harder time voting because of all the illegal, immigrants that have been voting. Like, no, you're going to make it harder on everyone, and that's going to span even.
Yes.
Hey, let's talk a little bit about the war because I know people are tuning in.
Yeah, and then I do want to return and talk about the fact that it's election day because there's
and then we'll finish on some high hopes of the beginning stages of Republicans up and comings.
The dismantling of the second Trump administration begins today.
I just read reports this morning from a group called MFFR, Military Freedom from Religion organization. So there's an advocacy group that exists to support military members when they feel that in the military specifically, there is religion being forced upon them, which happens a lot. 150 complaints came in over the weekend of United States generals giving information to officers and to support systems around the military, non-commissioned officers, saying, don't be afraid. Donald Trump has launched this attack on Iran in order to initiate the return of Jesus and Armageddon.
What?
Yep. Generals. They have documented complaints from people saying things like, with a smile on his face, the general, who's a very Christian-y person, was describing how Donald Trump was called by Jesus to light the first flame, to light the first flare to initiate the return of Jesus. Now, there is always a call in military actions to bless it by God. But this form, I know it. I was the same way. I start with a text from somebody, and then I read a Substack article, and then you start down the hole, and you're like, oh my goodness. The narrative in at least some parts of the military is not just that we're on God's side. This is a righteous call. This is a crusade that we have to fulfill because freedom calls. No, this is like a very bizarre expressed version of the book of Revelations. Where is the return of Jesus going to be initiated? Oh, and it turns out these people think that bombing Iran and freeing Israel is what we're doing. Christian nationalism is always a bad idea, and sometimes it gets dangerous.
Yeah. Wow.
There is no action Donald Trump is doing, in my view, that's going to initiate the return of Jesus.
Doug, do you think that that's a conscious choice, a conscious motivator in Donald Trump's mind?
I don't think it has anything to do with Donald Trump. I think it has to do with the military apparatus that Donald Trump gets to put into action. I mean, look, I think Pete Hegseth and Doug Wilson, his pastor, and all the stuff they're doing at the Department of War and all their Christianizing and all that stuff, there's people who believe it. But what gets really dangerous is not just what the commander thinks. It's what the generals think in every military action. Because generals and people with their hands on the ground decision-making are believing somehow that this is a holy war action that has a greater human destiny. The human destinies that are impacted by these choices of Donald Trump are the 150 girls in the school who were killed. Their human destiny and their families, and the military members in Iran and the military members in the United States and the thousands of others who are going to die. Their human destiny is impacted. This is not some fulfillment of the grand narrative taking us back to the foundations of the earth or to the Father forgive them for they don't know what they're doing. It is so utterly disturbing. And the military Freedom from Religion Coalition is going to start to make some of this public. Of course, the military members and the non-commissioned officers are like, hey, don't share my name, but here's the stuff. They're going to start to become more pointed about this. And these people need to be relieved of command. If a general of the United States says, what the president is now doing is to fulfill the religious obsession that I have, you are unqualified to be a military commander. Oh my gosh,
Yeah, wow.
Because Donald Trump doesn't know anything about, but do the people around him? Does Netanyahu? Does Marco Rubio? Does Pete Hegseth? Very well could. I mean, what'll be interesting is if any of the stuff the generals are spewing is coming from Pete Hegseth. If they track back to any communication or any of the rest of this.
And Doug, this is interesting because there is not a clear narrative about why we attacked Iran
Yeah.
and why it was necessary, why it's happening now. Listen, we can absolutely critique George W. Bush and the invasion of Iraq after 9/11. But man, there was a clear articulation of a reason why. Turned out to not be true, but there was, Colin Powell with
Yes.
charts and graphs at the UN
Yes.
laying out the case of this is why this is necessary.
Yes.
George H.W. Bush, the first time we went to war with Iraq, there was the clear articulation of, hey, Iraq has been aggressive towards its neighbor Kuwait, and we are coming to Kuwait's defense. And we're going to build a coalition of the entire world
Yes.
against Iraq. And it took time, and there was a clear articulation. Doug, why did we attack Iran? I mean, there's imminent danger to America. They pose an imminent threat to America. Okay, how?
Yep.
Where? How? Like there's no weapons of mass destruction narrative. Like there's we can't let Iran get a nuclear weapon. Okay, which is why we had a treaty with them that you pulled out of.
Yes.
Like all of this has been negotiated and figured out.
A year ago, we apparently obliterated their nuclear capacity.
Yeah.
Remember, we were told that. We obliterated their nuclear capacity for a generation. That's what we were told.
Yeah. There is no clear articulation of this is why this is necessary, and this is why this is necessary now. And listen, don't misunderstand this as support for Iran.
Yeah.
No. Because the Iranian two things can be true at the same time. The Iranian government can be completely evil and oppressive of its people.
Yeah.
And the United States government can be completely incompetent and driven by Christian nationalism.
Yeah, look, if you want to make an argument at any point about a possible threat being an imminent threat to the United States and requiring military action, then the list of currently scheduled targets in case of war should be put into place. If you want to make the argument, which Jason has made here in the chat. Hi, Jason. Nice to have you here. He did it to protect Americans, something you liberals will never understand. I mean, not a very thoughtful comment, Jason, but thanks for it anyway. Then let me ask you this.
What? You could say that about attacking any country.
Any country.
Because any country potentially could, come up with some idea of how to hurt Americans.
Yes.
It's
you don't
ridiculous.
You don't think Russia wants to hurt America? You don't think China wants to hurt America?
Ridiculous.
You don't think the point of the military is not to go around and assassinate the leaders of nations that people think are doing bad things or have the potential to hurt Americans. Again, what they did not do in this Iranian attack was to reduce the threat for Iranians to attack the United States. Only a person who has a view of a nation that is so obsessive that, frankly, Trump supporters have, that Donald Trump is the head of the United States and what Donald Trump does is the only thing that matters in the United States. Would you believe that killing Khomeini is going to end the hostilities of Iran toward the United States? Look, If they had said we needed to eliminate all of their nuclear capacity, then you could say we think that they're going to plant bombs and they're going to use nuclear weapons against us. What again was a targeted strike to remove the head of the Iranian government? How does that keep us more safe? Is there not? I know Trump supporters don't believe that there's anybody who would fill Donald Trump's spot. He's now president forever and ever and always and whatever. There's just another person who's going to be in charge. If Donald Trump were assassinated by another nation by any means, another person would be put into the position he has. That is true in Venezuela. That is true in Iran. That is going to be true in every African nation that they have on their target list. So this utter... Okay, and here's the other thing, to the mythic, or to the stand-in Jason on this. How come Donald Trump hasn't told us why we've attacked Iran? Why did he say when asked, I'm not going to answer that right now? Now, your answer might be, Donald Trump has a plan that they're working and a rationale for this attack on Iran that we're not privy to yet, but it's coming. Like when you're watching that scene in Princess Bride and the Sicilian is laughing at him. He's like, I'll tell you in a minute. I'll tell you in a second. Maybe that's what Donald Trump is doing when he says, we're not going to talk about the reasons for our attack yet. Okay, maybe there's some big master plan that in days or weeks or months or years, we're going to find out, here's what happened. Here's why that. Then he needs to say, there are reasons that we cannot speak about right now. And we have briefed the leaders of Congress and we've briefed other allies around the nation as to why we're doing it. They haven't said any of that. And when Hegseth goes on and says one thing, and Marco Rubio as the Secretary of State says another thing, and Esper says another thing, and Trump says another thing, do you think the Trump administration really has a plan for this stuff that goes beyond Netanyahu really wanted us to do this? Every president since 1981 has been begged by Israel and Israel supporters to take military action against Iran. There's reasons we haven't done it. There's reasons Trump didn't do it in his first administration. And all the people who are clear-eyed and minded are no longer in a position of influence, and so now we're doing it. Rob, you said nearly a year ago when the United States launched military actions against Iran, you said it's gonna come out that we didn't debilitate their nuclear capacity. You remember you saying that?
I did say that, yeah.
I can roll the tape. I can't, but I could fake it. I could Lauren Boebert like fake it. I could be like, I'm Lauren Boebert, you're Hillary Clinton, and I could fake it. I got the goods on you. If we eliminated their nuclear capacity,
yeah.
What are we afraid of with Iran?
Yeah, what are we doing?
And if, again, we want to go around and eliminate federal leaders who are sending their military to kill civilians, shall we talk about Alex Preddy and Renee Good? Should we talk about that?
Yeah.
Is that what you mean? When a military is sent in at the orders of the head of a government and they kill innocent people, that's a reason to remove them from office by all means possible? Is that the argument you are making?
Yeah.
Because it is the argument you are making.
Yeah. And if that's the argument you're making, let me tell you about the city of Minneapolis and what's happened there this year. Yeah. Doug, one of the things that's really fascinating to me is watching war coverage. And there is this it's almost like a sports sensationalist coverage of the war where, it's like watching a football game, and like you live and die on every play. You like, and there's this sense of like, oh, it's day 4 of the war, and
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
how long is this thing gonna last? And there's this sense of like, it feels so disproportionate to what's happening, that like, hey, if we're at war, there's like there's a seriousness to that.
Yes.
Like, I don't have the expectation that a war is going to be over, like, you know, with no bloodshed in, 16 hours.
Right.
It's just, I don't know. The media coverage of this just feels completely tone deaf to me.
When Eric Prince, do you know that name, any of you? Might know him most famously as being the brother of Becky DeVos. Amway fame, money. Eric Prince, the founder of the private military group called Blackwater. When Eric Prince on Saturday or Sunday calls into a podcast on his phone in his car to say, this attack is ill-conceived, it is wrong, it's going to create more crisis, when literally the guy whose job it is to make billions of dollars off of our military actions because of the way that the federal government partners with private military organizations and businesses, that is what he does. And he is saying, this makes no sense. We should not have done it. I don't know how we're going to come back from this. So it's not just like, oh, it's us, wokey liberals and a bunch of non-interventionist MAGA podcasters. It's also people across all the spectrum. Honestly, the people who think that like, well, I have an Iranian friend and they're very happy this happened. Look, if something tragic were to happen in the United States and our president was killed, there would be people who would be expressing their pleasure. That doesn't make it right. You certainly don't say, well, I've seen a bunch of people from Iran being really excited about this. This is not how you make military decisions in an international context. Yeah. This presidency is just so fundamentally inept and dangerous. I can't get like we literally have to invent a word for the recklessness of this. And it can't be one of those cutesy ones like Trumpliciousness.
Yeah.
All right. Blackwater.
There's really the sense of like, okay, let's track the scenarios. This continues and then it kind of peters out, like some military conflict has in the past with Iran. When we, a year ago, when we blew up their nuclear facility, and there was all that, World War III was trending on Twitter, and there was that sense of like, oh, we probably even talked that way, and then it kind of petered off. That's a possibility.
Very, very strong possibility.
Peters out. There's the possibility that there is some kind of clear victory on the part of the United States and Israel, and the creation of a new Iranian government that is, secular as opposed to, a hardline religious government.
Can you imagine the Christians in the United States government and the MAGA world wanting more than anything to have a secular government somewhere else? These people can barely tolerate a secular government in the United States, where we're built on a secular government. So it's hilarious that the point might be to secularize governments from this administration.
And then, thirdly, Um, you know, there's the option that this thing escalates, that other countries take up sides, and China is pulled into it
Mm-hmm.
on Iran's side. Um, and we are now in a in a conflict that's the scale of which was just whoa, and it's too late to pull back from that.
Yeah.
Or and and maybe I think this is the most likely, is that this will continue on for some period of time,
Mm-hmm.
but the impact of it will be that it actually emboldens people around the world with power who want to,
Mm-hmm.
um, you know, take one of their neighbors out. That this emboldens Putin in Ukraine and maybe Poland. Like, hey,
Mm-hmm.
Israel and the U.S. did it with Iran. I'm just doing the same thing they did. China, uh,
Mm-hmm.
moves on Taiwan. And all of a sudden,
Mm-hmm.
instead of there being like that, there are significant global conflicts
Yes.
happening, and the United States is in no position to intervene, to express support in any way, shape, or form for vulnerable countries around the world. And it it completely rewrites like the map
That's
of
it.
global power.
That's what will happen. That is what is happening. Once the United States has abdicated its voice in saying there are international norms for how governments engage with other governments. So when people, say that Trump wants out of NAFTA and all the rest of it, or sorry, wants out of NATO and all the rest of it, it's not that people are saying they should pay their fair share. It's not the point. The point of Trump saying we don't think NATO is valuable anymore is that it's international norms of engagement of nation upon nation. And he violates them all the time through tariffs, through capturing leaders of other nations, and through using our U.S. military to execute them. This is what so many of us have been saying for years about Donald Trump, is that he wants to explode the international set of norms.
Yeah.
And if you think, well, the Iranian people are happy, or well, he's a bad guy, okay, but you can't, it's the same argument these people made about ICE going places or police officers acting badly, like, well, they're a pretty bad guy, so we should probably do whatever. Like the reason we have international treaties and international organizations is to make sure that people don't actualize that very opinion. They're really bad, so therefore we should use this military action.
Yeah. And Doug, I don't think either one of us are advocating any kind of isolationism or any kind of aggressiveness on the part of the United States. I think our foreign policy needs to be governed by a principle of neighborliness. We are a part of a global neighborhood. And we've got to think about, what does it mean to be a good neighbor? Sometimes being a good neighbor means turning down the music and shutting up and going to bed early.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Sometimes being a good neighbor,
which my neighbors rarely do, by the way.
Right.
I keep just demanding it of them.
That's right. But that's sometimes being a good neighbor means you mind your own business.
Yeah.
Sometimes being a good neighbor means you step out to help somebody in need. Yeah. Sometimes being a good neighbor is you rally other neighbors, to tackle some crisis or some problem. Sometimes being a good neighbor means you have to stand up to a bully.
Yeah.
I don't think being a good neighbor is like, getting with one of your friends and going and knocking down the door of somebody else's house.
The 1.1717 name on our YouTube channel commenter made this point: we've shown out of hand, and it showed that we cannot and will not protect anyone but Israel. There is no doubt that the current government of Israel, and really one part of the current government of Israel, because of the way that their governmental system works, wanted the United States to join them in military actions against Iran, have been begging for it for decades.
Yep.
What is the motivation? What is the reason? It is connected to this one part of Israel's government.
Yeah. And
when Donald
United
Trump
States
did a joint statement basically with Netanyahu that we together did this, that's what is going on. The United States is doing the work that Israel wants. Not that the United States wants, not even that the Iranians want. And we shouldn't do the work that the majority of Americans want or the majority of Iranians want. We should be limited in what we do as every other nation is limited. Because Rob, let me ask you this. If the United States were attacked and Iran came in and executed people in our government, what would be our retaliation? It would be immense. If anyone thinks that Iran is simply going to fire off some missiles at a couple of bases, they may not do it in the speed that the United States would. As an American citizen, I am utterly terrified that Iran has operatives in the United States and has for a long time, who are prepared to retaliate against the United States of America. Yeah. Because you know what I'm pretty sure of? The United States of America has operatives in many countries prepared to join our response if the United States is attacked. The things Donald Trump has done to these other nations, if they were done to the United States, we would justify nearly any level of response. I mean, just ask yourself that question. If Iran had bragged about assassinating Donald Trump, what would this government have done? So I don't know why people think this is some game in which the United States is always the pitcher in baseball. There comes a point they're going to throw a ball.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's surprising to me that Iran hasn't already responded. But when they do, and then we have to, and then they have to, and then we have to, and then here we go.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Jesus is not coming back to save us.
Yeah.
That is not what's happening.
And listen, now, clearly Israel wanted this attack to happen. The United States joins in with that. We don't have a clear narrative of why. And so we're left to speculation. Did we do it to punish Iran for, 35 years of, 55 years of terror brought against the United States? Okay, so why, but again, then why now?
And,
what, after 55 years, why now?
And is that what we're doing now? We're going around and settling scores from 1983?
Yeah.
From 1976?
1979, when
1979.
When there were hostages taken in Iran.
Is that what we're doing? Is that
right?
Is that how this goes?
Because if we are, I think there's some Native American nations that would like to have a conversation if we're settling past scores. So is it that? Is it a distraction from the Epstein files? Is it a wag the dog situation?
Mm-hmm.
Is it a Christian nationalism? This is our chance to initiate the second coming of Jesus and the end times. Is it oil? Is it the military industrial complex, loves a war, and this will help boost profits? My guess is it's probably depends on who in the government you talk to.
Yeah.
Because there's going to be some Christian nationalists that are like, okay, this is our chance. There's going to be some profiteers who see this as a chance to make money. There's going to be those who on the political side see the things careening out of control with the Epstein
Yeah.
files and say, hey, we need something bright and shiny that will make people look another direction. I don't think there's one reason. I don't think there's a monolith that we can look to and say, okay, that's it. That's the thing.
Well, there's going to be a difference between the rationale and the perceived benefits.
Yeah.
Trump was convinced of this over a long period of time. He's been banging the drum for a while, setting up the rationale, even back to the nuclear attacks. I think after they did the nuclear attacks last year, I think they were expecting a greater level of response and could have continued to accelerate. It didn't happen. Iran played it cool, so this wouldn't happen. I think they've been working this plan for a long time. Someone got in Trump's ear and has told him that removing the government in Iran is something on his agenda. Now, here's what it is not. It is not a campaign promise fulfillment.
Right.
In fact, he said just the opposite.
Yeah.
He said, if you elect those people, we are going to have war with Iran. His boosters said it. Marco Rubio said it. All the people around Trump said this will be the thing that will come if you elect Democrats. Because they're warmongers and they're not putting America first. We are going to have a non-interventionist America first, bring peace, stop wars. He's going to win the Nobel Peace Prize.
Yeah.
So it's not a campaign promise. And again, Donald Trump doesn't make campaign promises. Donald Trump says things to get people to vote for him. They're not promises. This man is not a promise keeper. This man is literally a promise breaker. He doesn't. So he doesn't care.
He has never been to a Promise Keepers event.
He doesn't care what the MAGAites are saying about him. He doesn't care what the podcaster bros are saying about him. He doesn't care, doesn't know or care one bit. He says, I am MAGA. What I do, MAGA comes along. That's it. End of game. Marjorie Taylor Greene is out. Doesn't matter who it is. Blah, 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 blah. Doesn't care. But we should remember, this is not because he said he was going to do it. This is not promises made, promises filled.
Yeah.
This is chaos.
Yep.
And horror for reasons that many of us might say, you did what for that? That's what I think this is all going to ultimately, what we're going to see. And truthfully, Rob, if you listen to the State of the Union, and I barely did, I could barely tolerate the bloviating. He has no plan for anything.
Right. He has concepts of plans.
Concepts of plans. Remember when he went to the international affairs and to Davos and said, we're gonna take care of Iceland and we're gonna get Greenland or Iceland or Greenland, whichever one. We're gonna take the lands. We'll just take the land. This is a presidency like the first term of Trump that is just bouncing around. I did hear him say the other day, and I was glad to hear him say this. Our problem is that we don't have enough people telling about all the good things we're doing. Every administration suffers under that. The reason they don't have anyone saying about the good things they're doing is because there aren't enough.
Yeah.
And that brings us to Election Day on this wonderful Tuesday.
Yes. Today is, in many states in the United States, today is Election Day, including here in Arkansas, where if you are registered to vote and have a proper ID or a passport that is within not within 3 years of expiring, you can go vote, including voting for me if you live in District 3. Though I'm unopposed, so kind of
got your own Russian election going on over there.
That's right.
So, hey, just let me ask you, Rob, technically, how does it work if someone's unopposed? You just
There
hope they
is
have to have one
there
vote, or do the votes not even count? Do they not even?
there is an entire section of a listing of unopposed candidates on the ballot,
Yeah.
and you can choose to vote for all of the unopposed, or you can choose not to vote for them.
But
So if one,
technically in the system, does somebody actually have to vote for you all, or is the primary basically
yeah, I mean,
not in effect? You are
I'm not
registered as
sure.
the candidate, and you're going to be
No,
on
the
the ballot
primary
no matter
is
what
in
happens today.
effect in that sense that we're on the ballot.
So if
And
more people wrote in Mickey Mouse than you
I
could lose.
I don't know. I have
Okay.
no idea. No, no, you
I'm
cannot
not
pick the
advocating
ones
that
that
to
are
happen to you.
yeah, the folks that are unopposed, you can't pick and choose. Like you can't like you either vote for all of them or you don't vote for all of them
In Arkansas.
in Arkansas.
Huh, interesting.
Yeah.
A slate of the unopposed.
Yeah, yeah. And I and enjoyably because I'm federal candidate, I'm listed first in the unopposed. Yeah, which is great.
Have you seen the ballot yet?
Yeah, I've seen my sample ballot. Yeah.
Okay.
Um,
And when do you go and vote?
when we get done with this, I had to go renew my real ID so I could vote.
Are you going to live stream it or record it? The whole process. You can put a GoPro on like the.
I don't think I'm going to do that. I'll
Protest
probably
reporters?
take a picture after, a little selfie with my wife and maybe my daughter, and send out a fundraising email. Big elections in Texas.
Yeah.
Texas primaries are today as well. And in the United States Senate race in Texas, two really important races happening. On the Republican side, you have a choice between John Cornyn, who's got something like $70 million in his campaign war chest, running against Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton, whose wife, who is a state senator, filed for divorce during the campaign, which is just crazy. Ken Paxton is the MAGA favorite, and John Cornyn is seen as the rhino who occasionally he only votes with Trump 89% of the time, and that's not acceptable. And so this is a chance to throw him out. So it's going to be real interesting to see. Now Ken Paxton has huge scandal issues. He is broadly unpopular with Democrats and independents across Texas. And it's seen that if he happens to unseat John Cornyn, this becomes a very vulnerable Senate seat in Texas. Now, on the Democratic side, you have the wonderful choice between two really fantastic candidates, Jasmine Crockett and James Talrico. And it really felt like James Talrico had a lot of momentum, and then and had even I think it was last week, had the whole situation where CBS spiked his interview with Stephen Colbert, and then it got posted on YouTube, and that got huge national attention. James Talrico, really well-spoken young state senator, and Jasmine Crockett, a powerful leader in the U.S. Congress, who has really risen to prominence on the back of her ability to call out Republicans in committee hearings. She's the one who kind of branded Marjorie Taylor Greene the beach blonde body something. I don't remember exactly what it was, but she hit her with that insult, and it's a really interesting race. I don't know who's going to win on the Democratic side, but whoever does is going to come out of that as as someone who could actually flip a Senate seat in a red state like Texas. And so it's it's going to be really interesting to watch this evening what happens on both sides
Mm-hmm.
of the
Mm-hmm.
aisle in the Texas race.
Yep. Yep. It's a big deal. And in some ways, both those Senate primaries, the Republican and the Democratic side, are going to kind of it's going to be interpreted as setting a set of expectations for how people think it might go nationally in other races. Like, is the MAGA Republican going to be more attractive than the more normative kind of Republican to Republicans? And do Democrats want someone like James Tallarico that wants to pull people from the Republican side into the Democratic coalition? Or is it the Jasmine Crockett approach, which wants to bring in a bunch of people who have not been a part of the voting coalition into the coalition? Like, they both want to do both of those things, but they're between Tallarico and Crockett, they kind of have different philosophies about how you win the Senate seat. Which hand do you use as your primary hand versus, and you're gonna, of course, you're gonna do both, but that's also a thing, is what do Texas Democrats think the future looks like, and do they think you could win this election in 2026? Because there's a lot of people I've talked to in Texas who are like, well, look, we're not going to win this election in 2026. So what we need to do is build the system so that we can come back at it in 2028, right? Like, there's a lot of strategy that goes on to running for office that's not just winning. I know people say it all the time, Rob, you and I hear people are like, why would you run for office if you don't think you're going to win? And it would be, if you borrow some bad sports analogy, it'd be like saying, well, why do you have a team this season if you don't think you're going to win all the games or any of the games? Well, because we're getting better for next year. Like, there's actually an outcome that is being added to in the future.
Trust the process.
Yeah, trust the process. Well, look, and like your seat, you running for your seat now, if because of some tragedy you don't win, but you're better positioned to win in 2028, well, then that's important work, right? That's being done. This is the problem so many Democrats have, is we run around worrying, well, we're not going to win, so why would you run anyone? Well, you should run someone everywhere so that you keep building capacity across the state or across the county or across the region so that people can win. That there's a philosophy of running for office when you don't win, if you want to build the system or build the party or build the perspective that needs to be built. So this is a big question in Texas, and incumbents are going to have a harder time this year. This is not an incumbent year.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah. So
but again, it is. Congress has, their approval rating fluctuates. I think right now it's like 19%. 19% approval rating and a 91% reelection rate. It is, even if it's a throw the bums out kind of election, that might mean 80% of our Congress people get reelected.
Yes. Yeah, it'll be something like that.
So,
even less this year,
it's not, this is not like in basketball where the coach calls for a wholesale change and all 5 players, swap out.
Right. Yeah. It's, and it's, sometimes those statistics, they're measuring two different things. What do you think of Congress as a whole is one question. The vote is, what do you think of your congressperson? That's a different number. Like, I don't think the number comes back in polling. What do you think of your congressperson? And districts are like, it's a 19% approval rating. It's a 19% approval rating of Congress, but your particular representative, if people even know who it is, because there's a lot of people who have a very negative view of Congress, and when you ask them who their congressperson is, they don't know. So these are not the same thing. But to your point, that when I say it's not an incumbent's year, you're right. That moves it from a 91% down to an 83 or 85%. But that's how it always
Yeah.
that's how it always goes. Could you imagine if we had some some version of a reverse amnesty where every congressional seat was up and they had to, and no incumbent could run? Like it was just going to be totally new. I think you'd probably still end up with something pretty close to party representation like we have now, but it would be interesting, right? That, be like term limits on everybody is
All
whether
at
it's
once.
1 or 20, you are out. You
Yes.
are done. You are done. You can't run for reelection this time. That would be super I wonder how that kind of thing would fall out. But we're going to find out a lot. I don't know. Maybe we'll pop on and do a little quickie tomorrow, podcast, live stream, and say here's what happened. If we know, I mean, it could be that the Republicans run into they have to have a runoff election in this early summer. That won't happen on the Democratic side because there's only 2 candidates. So unless some write-in steals enough, which no one thinks is going to happen. So the Democratic side will be solved in this election, but it's very possible that the Republican side won't in the Senate race there, which will give whoever wins the Democratic side some running room to build while there's chaos happening on the other side.
Yeah,
and there's other primaries happening today too. They're all over the place. I don't have a list in front of me. And then over the next number of months, there'll be a lot of them.
Arkansas Democrats are going to be choosing their opponent for Tom Cotton.
Oh, who's running for governor? The governor's seat is not up, right?
It is. And there's I've endorsed and expect will win. There's a state senator named Fred Love who is likely to be the Democratic nominee against Sarah Huckabee Sanders. And Fred's a great guy, and we'll have him on the podcast at some point.
I hope he has a staff member's faith and hope. We could come to him and do a little faith, hope, and love event with him. That would be.
Yeah, and our friend Chris Jones is on the ballot as well. He has a primary opponent. So if you live in District 2 in Arkansas, get out and vote for Chris Jones today. And Chris, who's a candidate for Common Good and a dear friend, is we expect that he'll be the nominee by the end of the night as well.
Yeah. So maybe we'll do that tomorrow. Maybe every Wednesday we'll do a quick little report on candidates for Common Good.
And we have a candidate. We have a Candidates for Common Good podcast coming up, which we'll probably run on Thursday of this week. Doug.
Yes.
Do you care who the lieutenant governor of Nevada is?
I never have. No, my family's always been big into that, and I've never cared.
You are going to after this.
Okay.
I interview a candidate for lieutenant governor in Nevada.
You've already done this interview, so you're speaking out of knowledge here.
It will run on Thursday.
Okay.
I'll just say this. Come for the fire eating, stay for the policy discussion.
Never have we had the ability to say that before.
Oh, just fantastic. And did you know that in the state of Nevada, the lieutenant governor is in charge of tourism?
No.
Fascinating stuff. Yeah.
In charge of tourism. Do they? Does this candidate for Common Good want there to be tourism beyond the typical Nevada happenings in Reno and Las Vegas? Is that going to be part of?
Come for the fire eating.
Okay. And we will say that one is already recorded. So when it posts, it's not going to be live.
It will probably run like it's live, but it's
yeah. To be clear to all the insiders, people who've stayed this long here, when we run a pre-rolled one, it may pop up in your feed as Vote Common Good is live, but it's a pre-recorded interview that is not. But we don't edit these things, just so you know. It's as if it was live, but it's just done already. Yeah. So we could sort of lock in on a time. What time do you want to run that for people that want to actually watch it live versus watch it?
How about we schedule it for 10 a.m. Central on Thursday?
10 a.m. Central on Thursday. Deal.
Candidate for Common Good podcast. I'll get that scheduled.
Yeah, that's the whole thing
Anyways,
we're doing,
I'm gonna
friends.
go
That's
vote.
the thing. This thing is happening. Hey, you go vote, kid.
I'm gonna go vote, and it will be the second time in my life of casting a ballot for myself. So
Yeah, it's really fun. Congratulations on that. That's really fun. It's harder to say this vote isn't about me when you when you're voting this time, but it's just the
lesser of two evils. Let me tell you.
yeah. You should make a post about that. Lesser of two evils: no one or me. You know what's even worse than me? No one. That's a shtick. All right.
All right.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye, y'all. Stay warm. Be well.